Clemson Dubcast Friday, December 23rd, 2 days from Christmas, of course. Plenty of stuff to talk about and write about in the Clemson neck of the woods after signing day. Plenty of intrigue, of course, about Dabo's quote-unquote signings from his own portal, his roster that he alluded to at TigerIllustrated.com right now. Paul Strelo and I giving insight and intel into that situation and much, much more. My good friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold have been part of the podcast since the beginning, way back in August of 2018. They have an accomplished team of personal injury attorneys at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold based in Greenville. They are Clemson people, and their skillful attorneys have decades of experience in complicated litigation matters, taking a special interest in medical malpractice, nursing home abuse and neglect, car accident cases that have left the individuals involved in serious trouble. For a free consultation at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, call 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. That's P-A-R-H-A-M law.com. Solero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Solero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Solero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Solero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Solero at solerocommerce.com. That's C-E-L-E-R-O commerce.com. When you're ready for a complete renovation in your home or business, open the door to more with Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Their local experienced team will totally transform any room space, from beautiful floor coverings to construction to finished details. Harris handles every step of your renovation process, whether it's a kitchen or living room or an industrial or educational setting, like some of the positively stunning work they've done at Clemson University. Go to discoverharris.com and experience a total renovation transformation from Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham, Smith, and Archenhold. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. Okay, with the recent ascent of Cade Klubnik to the starting job and the outstanding performance in the ACC championship game, we thought it'd be cool to go back and revisit a podcast we did on Klubnik exactly a year ago. So we'll start that right now. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a mashup of interviews we did back in December. We're going to start with Cade Klubnik's mother, Kim Klubnik, followed by Brad Thomas, his pastor in Austin, Texas, and then, I guess, the main event, Cade Klubnik himself. All right, here we go. Enjoy. On some of the schools that Cade might be interested in. At that point, Clemson wasn't really in the picture, even though it sounds like Cade has been interested in them for a long time. Is that right? And can you just maybe... I just want to sort of explore more just how, first of all, what interested Cade way back when he was, I think Dabo said 12 years old?
It was in 2016 after they won the national championship. And when Dabo went to accept the trophy after the game, he gave credit to the Lord and was just really bold in his faith. And we were all sitting there watching it going, wow, that's incredible. You just don't hear college coaches just giving God the credit like that. And you could tell he was a man of faith. And we kind of just jokingly said, can you imagine getting to play for somebody like that? That would just be the best. And I think that just kind of planted a seed that, and at that point, that was just like a dream, just something you would say that'd be really cool, but didn't really think that would ever happen. And then, so come like 2020, every year, well, backing up with Brad Thomas, every year at the beginning of college football season, he's a huge college football fan. He would always have his predictions for college football. Who would do well, how many games they'd win, what their season would look like. And he'd have A&M, Texas, Baylor, always had Clemson in there, Alabama, just, some of the top schools and schools of interest for this area. And so I knew he knew a lot about college football, and he probably knew a lot about coaches. So going into summer, I can't remember how many offers he had. I know Baylor was the first one, probably Texas State, then Auburn. And so offers were starting to roll in. And I knew that Cade, would probably, he was already talking to a lot of college coaches, and we wanted to make sure that he had a good fit, that we found a good fit for him. And so we reached out to Brad, since he knew so much about college football, and wanted to know, what football programs had kind of a faith-based Christian culture, because we know how much time Cade spends with the coaches and with the team and at the school. And so I still have the notes from that meeting, and I probably have 6 pages of notes of what he had to say about the different schools, about the culture, about the coaches. And it was super, super helpful. It really was. And, of course, he had great things to say about Dabo, and Dabo being the real deal. And there were some other coaches, too, that he really liked as well. But at that point, he had no contact whatsoever with Clemson. And Cade, on his own, reached out to his high school football coach, Todd Dodge. And I think before that, we didn't know how good Cade was, to be honest. I mean, we knew he loved football. We knew he was pretty good. And now as more offers were coming in, we thought, well, maybe, it doesn't hurt to reach out to Clemson. And so Todd Dodge, the head football coach at Westlake, reached out to, I think, Brandon Streeter first, and just said, hey, got a quarterback. We should take a look at him. And that's how they got started. They always said that they only offer one quarterback at a time, and that it's his for the taking until he says he doesn't want it. And so just the way that they recruit, which was much different, because I think at A&M at that time they had like 11 offers out for quarterback. And, a lot of schools had, 10, 12 is very common to offer at that position. And so we knew that it was Ty's unless Ty said no. And so Coach Streeter probably called Cade 2 or 3 times a week, and they would just talk on the phone. And just said, trying to maintain a relationship there. And they did. And the more Cade talked to them, the more he just really liked them. They cared about him as a person. They would ask him about his schoolwork. They would ask him about fishing. They would, Dabo Sweeney, one time I remember, called us. I think we were at dinner, and he's like, what's up? And he's on a ski lift and, FaceTiming Cade. Just, he was just like a real person. And Cade talks about, another college coach that would call every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. And it was the same conversation, very rote every single week. And then here's the head coach, and the head coach would get on and go, yeah, that's our stadium. And, it was the same thing every week. And with Clemson, it was different. It was like talking to a best friend almost. And they just had so much fun on their conversations. And so the whole recruiting thing was nerve-wracking, though, because it was fine when all the offers were coming in. And I think after Texas won the state championship in January, which was delayed because of COVID, right after, we won that and Cade was the quarterback for Westlake High School and won the state championship, he got a lot more offers, a lot more attention, and Texas had already offered. Texas A&M had not, offer came in from them. And being from Texas and my husband and I both going to A&M, that was like, to play at Kyle Field it would be incredible. And all of our friends and family are from there. So that was a big offer to get. And But he didn't have the same relationship with Jimbo. That was the first conversation in the recruiting process that Cade had with Jimbo Fisher. And, even though Cade had camped there every single summer since he was probably 5th or 6th grade, he's been going to football camp at Texas and at Texas A&M. But that was the first time he talked to Jimbo Fisher, and it didn't feel very sincere, the offer. I mean, the offer was sincere, but he felt more just like a commodity as opposed to, somebody that the coach really cared about as a person.
Kind of transactional.
Yeah, exactly. And then 2 weeks later, Connor Wegman commits to A&M and somebody else commits to Georgia. And then, Cade's getting texts from anonymous people saying, if you want to commit to Texas, Malik Murphy's coming in town tomorrow. Word is that he's going to commit. And so it was really hard to know, like, do you take what's right in your hand, or do you wait for what may never happen? And if you wait, then you might not get it. There was no guarantee that Clemson would ever come along. And so he had to just pass on, dream schools for any, most kids growing up in Texas would die to play for, A&M or Texas. And those were really hard. I think my husband and I probably had a harder time than Cade did, just because, we're from Texas. We left Texas. We'd love for him to play here. And we, here we're dependent on an 18-year-old in Tennessee, Ty Simpson, on whether or not Cade's going to go, have an offer from Clemson. So it was stressful. It was really, really stressful. But, we just kind of prayed about it, and we just prayed for a peace. And then, I think Ty had announced that he was going to make his big announcement on selecting a school, and he chose Alabama. And I think the night before, a reporter had leaked it to Cade, so we knew that what Ty did. And Cade just came out of his bedroom just overcome with emotion. He said he's going to Alabama. Ty's going to Alabama. And then Dabo Sweeney called us on the phone and called Cade on the phone and said, made the offer. So it was really, really exciting. And the only reason he didn't commit right away was because he wanted to make a commitment video. I think CBS Sports wanted to do a live, reveal and big announcement thing, and Cade didn't want to do that. He wanted to have his closest friends and his coaches since Pop Warner at the house, and he had a friend that was in the tech crew, and they created a commitment video. He didn't let any of us, he let Todd and I see it right before he showed it, but he didn't want us to, we didn't help him do it. And he put together, I don't know if you've seen his commitment video, he did a really, really good job. And so that's how he wanted to, before he told the world, he wanted to tell his friends, closest friends and family, where he was going. So we had a little party at our house and showed the video and pulled out all the Clemson stuff and celebrated.
Do you have any feel for where he might have gone had Simpson come to Clemson?
He had several schools that he liked. We really liked, and, for him, it was a lot more of the relationships than it was the school even, which probably isn't the wisest thing to do when there's so much turmoil and changeover in coaching staff. But he really did like Coach Mac Brown over at North Carolina a lot. He liked Coach McGee. He was a quarterback coach at Florida. He liked, the Texas underwent a coaching change, so it went from Coach Herman to Coach Sarkisian, and he did not relate as much with Coach Herman, but we all really liked Coach Sarkisian a lot. So, Texas and Texas A&M, those were always very tempting, but those, the people committed to those pretty quickly. We had schools saying that, he'd probably get, 6-7 figures, if he came in for NIL money. And we did not want Cade to make his decision based on money. He has his whole life to make money. And so we didn't want that to be part of the decision. I think the whole recruiting world is just about to go crazy. I mean, I think it's just going to go crazy. I think Texas has a deal right now where, like, all the linemen get $150,000 in NIL money, or $50,000 or $100,000. It was 50, was 150. I don't know the exact amount, so don't quote me on that.
Sure.
And then they're telling them, they just have to do some charity work of their choice to get it. And I love that they're doing something for the linemen, and it's not just the starters, and that they're thinking out for the whole team. But it's really just coming down to colleges paying coaches, and paying players is through alumni. And I don't like that, because then players are going to the highest bidder, and I don't like that.
I'm assuming y'all are going to drop him off at the airport on sometime early January. What's that going to be like?
It's going to be hard. He's the youngest of 4. I don't know if you knew that.
Uh-huh.
His older siblings are 9, 7, and 6 years older than him, so he's definitely the baby of the family, and we're going to miss him. Yeah, he reports to the All-American game on January 3rd, and he'll be learning all their plays, and then the All-American game is at noon on January 8th, and he moves into his dorm at noon on January 9th the next day.
Wow.
I know. So it'll be a whirlwind. We won't really have that time with him the week before he goes. We'll fly out to Clemson with him and help him move in. And then, I don't know, we might just go sit on a beach somewhere and be sad. But we bought a big RV so that we can go to all the games, and we're excited about this for this next chapter of his life. We're really, really excited. And there's no person or coaches that I would rather him be playing for. So it's a dream come true. It's like that saying, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. And I feel that way. Don't cry because like he's leaving. Like, I'm smiling because of what he gets to go do. And that makes me really happy of what he gets to go do. It's beyond a dream. It's just hard to believe it's coming true.
So y'all are going to drive to all of his games?
Yes, we will. We won't miss any of them.
What an adventure.
Mm-hmm. And the ones far away we may fly to, but that's the plan. Go to all the games.
And you'll stay, I guess. Do you know where they have the RV lot is over behind the baseball stadium? Yeah,
we already have our space, paid whatever fees we have to pay.
That's great.
We're all in, just like Cade. We're all in.
Now, I'm sorry if I don't know this, but have y'all been to a game here before?
We have. We went to the spring game. We went to a game last fall against Syracuse, and then Todd and Cade went to another game. I can't remember which one it is. Sorry. And then he came for the Cincinnati game. We all came for the Cincinnati game when his official visit was there, and the spring game as well.
Cincinnati.
Was it Cincinnati? UConn.
Sorry. Okay, this year. Okay, UConn. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that was the UConn game was the first full-on experience because of the pandemic was in 20. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he came to a game earlier, and I can't remember why I didn't go. I think I had to help another kid with something.
Okay. Well, and I guess y'all had experience traveling a lot when Reed was at Yale, right?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay. And did he play all 4 years?
He did.
Okay.
He did. He set the receiving record there. He was a great player.
What is he doing now?
He is trying to figure out. He's not sure what he wants to do next. He took a year off, and he trained for the NFL, and it looked like his trainer was a guy by the name of Tom Shaw out of Florida, and Tom was pretty sure he would get picked up. And the week before his pro days, everything got shut down, so he never got to do his pro days, and they kind of shut down, like, inviting people to the rookie camp. So he never got to kind of try out or show what he could do.
We're a pretty large church, but really Cade came on my radar last year during COVID. And it was interesting. So when COVID started in, I guess, February of, I lose my year.
20?
That's February. Yeah, 20. So I got a call from Cade's mom that summer. And of course, we're all, hunkered down, isolated. And she said, hey, you know a lot about college football. You know a lot of coaches, a lot of programs. Would you do a Zoom call with my husband and I and Cade? And honestly, I'd never met Cade at that point. And all I knew was he was a junior at Westlake High School. Westlake High School is a powerhouse with Lake Travis High School as well. So, you got Drew Brees and you got Nick Foles and Sam Mellinger. I mean, same high school. And then the other high school here, Lake Travis, we've had 11 straight Division I quarterbacks out of Lake Travis High School. That's where Mayfield came from. And so it's a big deal here. And I said, sure. So we had the Zoom call. And I wasn't thinking Clemson because I know Clemson offers late, and Clemson's top 2 program in the country, and this kid, he was good, but I didn't think much about it. So I told him about all these different coaches I knew in programs. Sorry.
No,
so we kept talking, and about that last fall, I guess he was going to the Elite 11 camp in California. And his mom said, hey, Cade would love to come in and have you pray with him and just talk to him before he goes to camp. I said, sure. He came in. And Cade was probably ranked, 10th or 11th quarterback in the country maybe. And he had won 2 state 6A championships for Westlake, which is a big deal here. And so he goes to that camp and wins the camp. And, as you know, he's vaulted to number 1 quarterback in the country. So crazy athletic, good runner. I mean, he's Trevor minus 3 inches, but he's got just a great accuracy about him. But I think more than anything else, he follows the line of Deshaun and Taj and those guys and Trevor of being a great leader. This is a kid that works with younger quarterbacks in the summers. He goes to elementary school classrooms and talks to the kids. I mean, this kid has the maturity of a 35-year-old man, which is why he connected so well to the culture that Dabo has there. And so I'm excited for him. I mean, obviously he's got way too much pressure on him coming in after this year with DJ. And, I'm still hoping DJ is a Heisman candidate next year, but this kid is for real talent wise. And he loves the Lord. He's a strong Christian. He's just going to fit. And you kind of know what I mean when I say that. And he's going to be a team leader, which to me, it felt like losing Amari. Amari was kind of that vocal leader for the receivers. And I think Cade is that kind of leader that Trevor was in that regard. So it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of competition he'll throw against DJ. Every year in August, I do a football prediction newsletter to the church, which is kind of fun. And I do all the Texas teams, but I always throw Clemson in. And she said, hey, we love reading that every year. You kind of nail these teams. Can you talk to us about what you know about area programs, area teams? At that point, he was not getting recruited by Clemson and programs like that at all. But he was thinking at that point, TCU, maybe UTSA, maybe Baylor. I mean, some of those type programs. Yeah, and he asked me, he said, I asked him on that Zoom call, I said, where would you want to go if you could go anywhere? He said, Clemson.
Really? Even back then?
I didn't even know he was thinking that. And I go, well, obviously I'm biased, and that would be awesome. And I've met Dabo one other time. When they played out here last time against A&M, I got to meet Dabo on the field before the game. And I said, yeah, that would be the great place to go for sure. But, okay, let's be realistic here. And he was very realistic. He's like, I won't go to Clemson, obviously, but that's where I'd want to go. And so he's been talking Clemson now for, a while. I just know Facebook messages from his mom. She would say like, hey, Dabo called last night. And again, he was getting better and better, and he was getting noticed, I should say. But, he was 6'3" and 170. And, Clemson's looking at guys that are 6'4" and 230, But as he started getting recognized and won that, he really started getting recognized after the last year's state championship game. Because in that game he played hurt and he threw for like 300 yards and ran for, 150 yards. So really started getting noticed around here locally. but it really wasn't until that Elite 11 camp where it became national. But by that point, he'd already committed to Clemson. I knew them, and his dad actually played at A&M. And so there was a huge, I mean, you know, think we drink the Clemson water. I mean, the A&M water is the same thickness. And so everyone's been pushing this kid to go to A&M, play for Jimbo Fisher. Of course, Texas has been needing a quarterback since Colt McCoy, who actually goes to our church as well. And this kid just said, man, I want to go to Clemson. And honestly, it wasn't, I don't think it was about just winning. I think it was about, hey, character, family atmosphere, you know, all the buzzwords we use for Clemson, Dabo, the culture that Dabo set. And I think Dabo called him, and I think Dabo prayed with him on the phone a couple of times, which coaches just don't do that. And you could tell Dabo, and, you know, you've been around Dabo some too. I mean, Dabo's like, hey, we want you where God wants you. We want you where you need to be. If that's Clemson, great. But Clemson was pursuing the kid that went to Alabama at the time.
Simpson.
Yes. And so actually after he committed to Bama and Clemson lost that recruit, that's when he called an offer to Cade. I want to say like the next day or so.
Yep, it was.
And then Cade just ecstatically said, you know, I think he took a couple of days to think about it, but he was all in at that point. When we had that Zoom call last summer, and I got off the call. I mean, honestly, he's a skinny kid. And I got off the call going, there's no way he's going to go to Clemson. That's what I was thinking. But, man, what a good athlete. I mean, if you start at Westlake High School, you're going to play Division I ball somewhere. And so I got off the phone thinking, well, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, and he's a solid athlete, and he's a better guy. And then when his mom contacted me, and I can see that date on what the date was, I couldn't believe it. I was sitting there going, okay, you know, biasly, I'm a huge Clemson fan, obviously. I mean, my Twitter handle's @TigerPreacher, right? But besides that, I was thinking, this is the kind of kid that goes to Clemson. And this is the kind of kid that's going to make a difference in that community and is just going to be a leader day one, kind of like Shipley was. I mean, Shipley comes on as a freshman, and he's already leading the offense vocally, right? And that's what Cade is. And I can see Cade and Shipley and these young receivers do this for a long time together. So I just remember my reaction was, oh my gosh, we got one that's coming right out of our church. Because we have athletes that go here. We've had a lot of D1 players come out of here. Sergio Garcia, the golfer, goes to our church. Jordan Shipley, Colt McCoy. Back before your time, Phil Dawson kicked in the NFL for 15 years, a UT All-American kicker. He goes here. So these are guys we have, and we have a lot of athletes that go here. But this is special. This is different because this is Clemson and his quarterback. You know, it's different if he's going to be a tight end, right? Or, you know, DB. But this is the leader of the team. And, you know, if this kid stays healthy and I know he'll stay humble, this could be a special player for Clemson. Maturity-wise, he seems like an adult.
Yeah.
But don't translate that as boring. He is one of the goofiest kids. Like, you know, you have that friend that's like, well, of course Cade said that, or of course Cade did that. Not like bad, but just goofy. That's Cade. I mean, he's just, you're looking at him going, I'm amazed your shoes match today, Cade. You know, that kind of deal. But he's also just the most jovial guy. Let me read to you a comment I got, because I just wrote a letter to Gatorade Player of the Year committee on his behalf. And so I interviewed a couple of guys. I can actually email this letter to you. And when I spoke to his teammates, he started a Bible study at his house during COVID. And this Bible study has continued. He's got half the Westlake football team comes to his house early in the morning for a Bible study before school. And what every guy I talked to on the team said, they said basically the same thing. They said this. They said, if you take Clemson away and you take all the championships away, Cade is the exact same person. Like, he would be the same person whether he was on this football team or not. And you just don't hear that a lot because with people it is about football. But this guy's the same guy. And they said no matter who Cade is talking to, he talks to in the same way, whether it's Dabo or whether it's, you know, someone like yourself or whether it's a fifth grader he's speaking to the classroom. He's the exact same way with everybody, which I think that's a pretty huge compliment.
Mm-hmm.
He is I'm reading you what one friend said. He said, one friend described Cade as the combination of an 8-year-old kid and a grown, mature man. He has the energy and the joy of a little kid, but he's very disciplined. He's on time. He works hard. And he leads others. And I thought that was a pretty good description. Yeah, I got an email from his head coach, Coach Dodge. This is last year, actually, coaching at Westlake. He's a Texas legend.
Yeah.
And he said, Cade is up for the Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Texas. Well, he just won that last week. I wrote the letter for that. And I also wrote a letter for the National Player of the Year that he's nominated for. But you got to also understand, I am subliminal messaging here for the last 17 years. So literally, I would say things like, hey, this the other day, you guys know that Clemson, that's God's team, right? Well, I'll say things like that. And so this kid grew up hearing me talk about this place, not just because, in 2013 we became national powerhouse in football, and that helped. But I was talking about Clemson back when this kid was in first grade. And I would talk about it as a place where my life was changed, me personally, and where I fell in love with the Lord, and I fell in love with Clemson and the Southeast. Of course, I grew up there like you did. But here's a guy in Texas talking about it. And then all of a sudden, high school players only know what they see in the front of them. So now you got Clemson winning 2 titles in 3 years and 6 straight playoff appearances. So he's putting together, wait, there's a place where the head coach is a Christian and a man of integrity and character, and they care about the players like their family, and they win championships. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so he's putting all that together, and then he's watching us on TV like everyone has. Again, I had no idea he would answer that question the way he did, but when I asked it, he had already thought about it, and it was a 100% decision. Like, dude, I would go to Clemson in a heartbeat. When you're a preacher like me, I'm pretty relational. I'm a dude's dude. I always feel like if I can get the guy's heart, then the family follows. And so I'll use sports illustrations and sermons. I'll talk. I think I talk in ways that relate to guys. And he grew up in that. He grew up with a dad who played college football, so he already loved football. He's loved football his whole life. And I don't know where in his heart he started thinking Clemson would be where I wanted to go. But I know he saw Dabo on TV talk in interviews before and after games. He watched Dabo go to Syracuse's locker room and after we lost that game on a Friday night and said, way to go to that team. He saw those things. Yeah, and I put stuff on Twitter and Facebook, and I know he's been following me for years on that stuff. So I don't know why Clemson for him. I just think you put it all together, and then he's heard me talk about it. And then when Dabo offered, I think when he talked to Dabo, he's thinking, this guy's for real and this program's for real. I mean, that's a long way from home.
Yeah.
And you know how people in the South don't leave the South? People in Texas do not leave Texas. And I didn't know him all those years, but, we got several thousand people. It's hard to know everybody, but I knew of his family. And I'll tell you this, like on Sundays, he's here every Sunday. And we also have a lot of Longhorn players that come. And it's been a tough year for those guys. But Cade always has 3 to 10 football players he brings with him every Sunday here. And they sit together. They're back there taking notes. They're listening. They're focused. He brings his friends up to me in the foyer and introduces them. I mean, what high school stud does that? Not many. And that's what I mean by the maturity. He's goofy, but he's a mature guy who's a leader.
Where have you seen the goofiness?
He looks a little goofy. He's tall and skinny. He's just, when I first saw him on that Zoom call, I thought, this guy's not a Division I quarterback. That was my first thought. He is 6'3", but on Zoom call, you can't tell how tall someone is, but he just looks skinny. He's probably put 15 pounds on this year of muscle, but Clemson's going to do that 20, 25 more pounds, I would think. But just goofy, like, if you talk to him and his friends, you have no clue you're talking to the #1 rated quarterback in the country. Like, I know if I were in his shoes, my head wouldn't fit in the room. And he's just with his friends, cutting up, hanging out. His friends told me he's the goofiest guy on their team. And, he's a jokester. They're always pulling pranks on each, that type stuff. So at the same time, while he's a normal kid like that, if you ask any player on his team and his coaches, they're like, that's the leader of this team. And, I'm excited for that for Clemson for sure.
How hard was it dealing with the loss of Jackson Coker for him?
Jackson was one of his best friends. I think that loss galvanized that team. And, they would tell you they played for him this year. That was another good kid. He didn't go to our church, but he was a believer. He was involved in Young Life, which is something that Cade's been involved with. And when he passed, Cade started going to Young Life, and the guy who they kind of connect a younger guy with an older guy at Young Life. And Cade sought this guy out, which was actually a really close friend to the kid that passed. And that kid has become Cade's mentor. And so I also think it's kind of took the place for that mentor as well. I don't know the guy's name. But whenever you see Cade, you usually see a mentor around, which means he's always inviting someone a little further down the line into his life, and he listens. And again, most athletes in those situations don't listen to anybody because they got all the answers. But Cade's always got someone around him that's younger, it seems like, and someone that's older. So he's always pouring into somebody. He's always being poured into somebody. And I just think that is rare.
Yes, I've been keeping up with the Klubniks. When they would go on their recruiting visits, of course, they would always text me with a picture with Dabo, and, they'd come back and tell me they spent time with Dabo and his wife. And I think the Klubniks have become friends with Dabo and his wife, which is kind of what Dabo does with everybody probably. But, Dabo's got a special place in his heart for quarterbacks, obviously as a receiver. But, yeah, I don't have the exact date, but I have a date on my Facebook here, June 28th. His mom said it was great to sit and talk with you and Cade outside the foyer today. I love the journey ahead for him and us. Thank you for the gift of that Zoom call. So we've just gotten closer and closer throughout this past year for sure.
Yeah, I was an economics major, wanted to be a corporate lawyer. I was there 87 to 91. And that's where FCA changed my life, was at Clemson. I think FCA became the largest one in the country when I was there. When I was there was only 12,000 students, and we had probably 1,000 coming to FCA on Thursday nights, which is a student-led organization. There was adults weren't leading at that time at all. And we were connected to IPTAY, so we did stuff with – do you remember a name, Allison Dalton?
Yes.
So Mr. Dalton was our sponsor, so I was real close to the Dalton family as well. And so that's where my life was changed, and I felt called to ministry. And so I left Clemson and went to Dallas Seminary in Dallas, and that's where I met my wife, who's from Texas. I graduated Dallas Seminary in 97 and then took a job at East Cooper Baptist in Mount Pleasant for 7 years. So this Austin Ridge, this job is my first and only lead pastor job I've ever had. And when I got here in 2004, it was probably 300 folks. We had one building, and now we're 3 campuses with probably 6,000 folks.
That's amazing.
And, so that's kind of all the connections there. Me to Dallas, back to Charleston. Never thought I'd be in Austin. My daughter is now a senior at University of Texas, so I've got a Longhorn, and my wife's a Sooner. So we actually have this big flagpole in our yard, and we have the 3 colleges on the flagpole. And we put them up every year based on the AP ranking. And so when the football season starts, Clemson's been on top literally for 6 years, right? And it's always been Clemson, OU, and Texas. Well, this year, for the first time, OU jumped to the top. And I'm hoping OU loses their bowl and we blow out Iowa State so I can put them back on top. And so at the end of the football year, whichever team's ranked the highest gets to be on the flagpole alone for a month. And so this flagpole has just been a huge talking point for people here in Austin. Because there's no other flagpole here in Austin that has those 3 schools on it, right?
Right.
And so people come to Austin Ridge and they're like, after a football game, they're like, okay, what's the order of the flagpole?
and I explain this AP ranking. So we have a great time with stuff like that here. And of course, Venable's going to Oklahoma. My wife's very happy, and I'm not so happy.
And so you said you worked with Danny Ford's, with some of the athletes in FCA while you were here?
Yeah, more into Ken Hatfield.
Okay.
So I did some devotionals for the team, and FCA was a big deal to Ken Hatfield. And again, with Allison Dalton. Allison Dalton's daughter, Cece Dalton, if you've heard her name. I was at Clemson with Cece, friends with Allison. Allison made it take really what it was now. I mean, he's the guy that really built that thing. And I was always in the football offices doing stuff with the team. And obviously love Clemson just because of growing up there, obviously. We sent a ton of, it's not just football, we sent a ton of students from our church to Clemson, which is funny because a lot of the Texas kids, if they don't stay in Texas, they may go to like Auburn or Mississippi or Alabama. But I bet we've sent 25 of our students to Clemson in the last 5 years. And a few of those kids have been athletes as well and played sports there. So really, I think I should be getting a kickback at some point.
As somebody who has lived in South Carolina and knows what high school football is like in South Carolina, can you describe just how big it is? I mean, you already mentioned, like, that is just amazing, the Lake Travis streak of Division I quarterbacks, and then the Breeze and Foles and all that. It just seems like almost like a college football, smaller college football over there. Is it just that vast of a difference? Can you describe it?
It is. It is a vast difference. When I was growing up going to Hillcrest, basketball was huge, baseball was huge, football was huge. Here, football is huge, and there's everything else. And so Lake Travis is where my kids went, which is here in Austin. And my daughter went through 4 years of high school. They lost one football game. I mean, they won 4 straight titles. That's where Chad Morris came from.
Yep.
You remember Chad Morris?
Yep.
So Chad won the first of 5 Lake Travis state championships when my daughter was a freshman. And then, Chad's story as well. And so it's big. Like, for example, my first year I was a pastor out here, they had Lake Travis Westlake, which is the last game of the season, played at Texas Stadium. And I think there was 35,000 fans that showed up. And it is not uncommon to see 15, 20, 25,000 fans at these high school games. And then the stadiums are artificial turf, and they're like Lake Travis, is endorsed by Under Armour the way a college would be. And the Jumbotrons, I mean, it's just, and people tailgate at high school games. So they show up Friday afternoons like they do at Clemson on Wednesdays, and they just tailgate. It is even to the point of this, Larry, we've tried to do Friday night church events, and it won't happen in Texas because of high school football. We try to do Saturday church, and it doesn't happen in Austin because of college football. And so it is everything out here. It is huge. Friday Night Lights. I mean, that's what it is out here.
Well, this is great. I think I'm going to really sort of focus on your the angle of you and Clemson and all that, if that's okay.
Sure, you can use any of it. And like I said, send me your email. I'll email you the letter I sent. It's when you think about high school football, it's California, Texas, and Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe Ohio. And Texas, honestly, this is what they do. I mean, California has other things like the beach and Hollywood, and Texas has oil, dirt, and football. And it's kind of like when I grew up in South Carolina, if you remember too, there was no professional sport teams. And so it's all college. And so we pulled for the Falcons or the Redskins growing up, and they were horrible. So you pull for Clemson or Carolina. Out here, it's Texas A&M. It's kind of like Clemson, South Carolina, and that rivalry is about to be renewed as well.
And you said after each of the national championships, you'll wear orange pants?
Yeah, after the 16
championship, I said, well, this may never happen again, right? So I wore orange pants and a purple shirt, and I had Clemson Nikes that I kind of personalized from Nike, had tiger paws all over them. And then after 18, I said, I need to change this up a little bit. So I had an orange sport coat with the orange pants. And I got a bow tie now that's waiting for the next championship. So tell Dabo I want to wear this bow tie soon.
And when you say that people there have been trying to get him to go to A&M in Texas, how I mean, is that's in the past? Like, is that before he committed to Clemson, or are they still trying to figure out why he's not staying close to home?
Yeah, it's funny. People in our church, which is the culture that I operate out of, they understand why he's going to Clemson because, Clemson's awesome, and Dabo's a Christian, and why wouldn't we want our kids to go to Clemson, right? Outside of our culture here at our church, he got a lot of pressure from Aggies and Longhorns, more from Aggies because his dad went there. And I think that stopped once he committed. But I tell you, I haven't talked to Cade in the last couple of weeks, but I would be interested to ask Cade, with the OC and the DC and the AD leaving, did that repump some of that pursuit? Because I bet it did. Yeah. Because I asked Cade about it a while back, and he said, yeah, I got a lot of pressure. And he never budged. I mean, Clemson didn't know this, but that kid was going to go to Clemson if they offered. And again, that was before he became the number one quarterback in the country. But I bet the last couple of weeks that stuff is ramped back up out here. Yeah. But especially the way kids jump around with the portal and everything else. I mean, you're not there until you're there. Yep. And then even when you're there. Yeah, and my understanding is Cade's an early enrollee, so he'll be there in January is what I understand. Late this month, I guess. Late December. He's pumped. He's ready. Do you remember when he obviously you do, but when they beat North Shore and he had his AC joint was torn, somebody said that was kept under wraps and that it wasn't even disclosed until after the next week, after they won the state championship. Do you remember that, the particulars of that? Like, they were able to keep that quiet? That's what I heard. I did not know he was hurt. And watching that game, you could not tell. I mean, because those games are all on TV out here. But, yeah, I found out after the game he was hurt, but he ran the ball incredibly well in that game. It reminded me of, was it Deshaun that played on a torn ACL against South Carolina? Was that right? Yep, 2014. Yeah, it reminded me of that because we knew that was true with Deshaun, but you couldn't tell watching him play until he limped. That's the way it felt like with Cade that game. And let me tell you, I think the Westlake team this year, they won 2 weeks ago 70-6. And then they just beat Katy, which is a powerhouse in Texas. They just beat them 45-14 this past weekend. And those two touchdowns by Katy were late in the game. Mm-hmm. This team might be the best Westlake team ever, which is saying something, and I don't think anyone's going to touch them as they finish up. So this will be the first kid in Westlake history to win 3 straight championships. And again, you think about Nick Foles and Drew Brees and Sam Ehlinger, that's a big deal. Yeah. Now, I'll go ahead and throw this out to you, Larry. So the backup quarterback at Westlake, his name is Paxton Land. He's a sophomore, and he and his family go to Austin Ridge as well. And I'm really close to the Lands. Paxton's already 6'4", and he got a lot of mop-up duty when Cade was a little hurt this season. I'm already working on Paxton to come to Clemson as well, so we'll keep that pipeline open. The kid's a stud. I mean, they were playing, I forget the team, I think it was Hayes is the name of the team, and he came in second half and just, he lit it up. And this kid's just figuring out the position still. But it's funny, his dad, Derek, walked on at A&M, so we got another Aggie-Clemson connection here. And I've already told Derek I'm praying that Paxton goes to Clemson, so it's pretty funny. Man, all I can say is this kid is just a great kid, and I hope people will be patient with him. And I know DJ had a tough year, and I'm still pulling for DJ. This is the type of kid that if DJ wins the battle, this kid will be cheering for DJ louder than anybody else and will be a great teammate. And if it's not next year, this kid's time's going to come if he stays healthy. So Clemson Nation ought to be real excited. But more than the talent, just the quality of this young man is just awesome.
Football season is grilling season, and Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio is South Carolina's premier source for the big three: Weber, Traeger, and Big Green Egg Grills. Blackstone Griddles, too. I'm Jack Oliver. Grill all your tailgate favorites to perfection with a premium gas, charcoal, or pellet grill, then top it all off with something sizzling from your Blackstone griddle. For grills, griddles, patio furniture, hot tubs, and saunas, shop in store or online at Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio, Forest Drive in Columbia, and jackoliverpools.com.
I'm Josh Burrell, receiver and running back for the Florida State Seminoles. When I'm back home in the Midlands, I enjoy grilling and relaxing with my family, and we get everything we need from Jack Oliver's Pool Spa and Patio.
Thanks, Josh. I'm Jack Oliver, and we proudly offer the Big Green Egg, Weber, and Traeger grills, Blackstone griddles, and beautiful patio furniture, too. We're located at 3303 Forest Drive in Columbia and online at jackoliverpools.com. And we deliver.
They're good people. Go see them today.
If you're in the Eastern Midlands and PD area and you're in any way interested in buying and selling a home, commercial property, land, need to consider reaching out to Uptown Realty. They're based out of Sumter and run by a friend of mine, Patrick Enzer, big Clemson guy, used to cover the Tigers in a newspaper capacity, longtime supporter of Tiger Illustrated, longtime listener to the Dubcast. The home buying process should be an enjoyable experience, so let Patrick and his staff do all the heavy lifting. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 803-774-0435 or go to uptownrealtysc.com. Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union. If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Matt's office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. So what, can you tell me what this week has been like for you? I mean, everything is so regimented during a season, and you go from that to actually maybe having some free time. What have you done? I know you went camping and other stuff like that.
Yeah. Honestly, not a ton. Just kind of, I've got a decent amount of stuff to do just with finishing up an online high school class, a second semester English, and then just getting ready for Clemson, a lot of orientation stuff and just a lot of little things. But honestly, not a ton. Physically, not a ton. Just kind of resting and letting my body just kind of catch up. It's been a long 17 weeks. Just in this last 17 weeks, it's been a long ride. So just kind of letting my body just kind of get back to where it was. And, we have practice at 4:45 in the morning, so to kind of sleep in a little bit and not play catch up was really nice. So
does your clock still wake you up at 4:15 because you've been used to doing it so much?
Not right now. I'm sleeping in.
That's good. So
yes, sir.
11 days from now, you're going to go to San Antonio. You're going to spend a week there. And then you go directly to Clemson, is that right? Directly there to hear from San Antonio?
I think we'll come home and then we'll leave. But I mean, it'll be quick. I mean, we'll be home the 8th and then we leave the 9th. So,
what is that going to be like leaving home for that last time?
Yeah, I don't even know yet. I've never lived outside of Austin in my whole life. It's kind of all I've ever known. So just kind of living where I am right now and living where my feet are in the present and just focusing on today. And, when the day comes, I think I'll think about it, but just kind of not really thinking about it yet. But, I don't really know how the day's going to go yet. I know it'll be an emotional day, but, yeah.
Can you take me back to when you were a 12-year-old from what I've read and heard on January 9th, 2017, watching Clemson get the trophy in Tampa, listening to Dabo Swinney talk on the stage. Was that the beginning of this affinity for Clemson, or does it go back further than that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have to be the first one that they won a couple of years back with Deshaun. Is that that's the same one. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's got to be the first time that I really saw and heard about Coach Swinney and Clemson. I just remember talking to my mom, like, how would you not want to go play for that person? and just like that would be so crazy. And to just kind of realize that I'm getting to go play for the coach that I watched on TV, 6 years ago. It's just so surreal and so awesome.
Can you take me back to that night? Was it you and your family watching? What do you remember from the game? Obviously, one of the craziest games in college football history.
I think we just had just a bunch of people over, and we're all watching the game together, and just came down to the last moment. In that last few seconds, it was a great game and so fun to watch. I'm not a Bama fan, so to really watch anybody beat Bama, but I loved Clemson at the time, and that's whenever my love for Clemson kind of started coming. So
is it safe to say before that you really liked their style of play and sort of they were the new kid on the block, but it was that night when the more substantial sort of stuff that related to spirituality and all that started to take root?
100%. Yep.
It just occurred to me that day you move into your dorm, I guess January 9th, that'd be the 5-year anniversary of that night.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's actually so crazy, dang.
Your mom made the point that as impressed you are, as you have been with Dabo Swinney, that you're probably tighter with Coach Streeter just from the frequency of communication with him?
Yeah, I've talked to Streeter for longer, but I would say I'm just as tight with both of them at this point. Me and Coach Swinney have a really, really special relationship, and me and Coach Streeter. So, I would say it's equal at this point.
Gotcha.
I was always a little bit tighter with Coach Streeter. I was always way tighter with Coach Streeter than Coach Elliott. I hadn't actually spoke with, I had, but just not nearly as much than Coach Streeter and Coach Swinney. So
it sounds like during the recruiting process, your conversations with coaches from other schools were, not all the other schools, but some of them were just more sort of formulaic and basic, whereas your conversations with Dabo and Streeter were more involved, more about you as a person. Yeah. Can you help me recreate some of those conversations you were having, and maybe what dawned on you as, wow, this is different from the typical conversations I'm having?
Yeah, I just remember, there's one school out there where, just an example, and so many people do this, is one school out there, every single Tuesday at 3:25, coach, their assistant QB coach would call me, say, "Hey, Cade, how's it going? Doing good? All right, cool. Here's Coach Blank." And that's it. And then the head coach would get on the phone, say, "What's up, Cade? How's it going? Here's our stadium. All right, hope you have a good one. All right, see ya." Boom. And that's all that I ever spoke with them. That's it. And it's I was just a empty box that I'm on their checklist that they called me that week. And I just there's just so many schools like that where there's just no real relationship wanting to be made. And just knowing me, I'm such a relationship person. I want to have somebody that wants to get to know me, and I want to be able to get to know you. And if that's how it's going to be for the 4 years that I'm at school too, where you just don't care about the person that I am, then I don't really feel like that's where I need to be. And every time I talk to Coach Streeter or Coach Swinney or Coach Elliott, that's all that they want to know. It's just, how am I doing? How's my week going? All they want to know is just more about me and my backstory and my family and my friends. And Coach Swinney's memory is unlike anybody else. He will remember the smallest details about everything. So just for Coach Streeter, I talked to Coach Streeter for about 4 or 5 months before I were talking to Coach Swinney, and just he would just text me out of the blue, "Hey, you want to catch up?" And just all kinds of stuff where he just literally wanted to talk and just have a conversation, and it was just always such genuine conversations. There's probably only one or two other schools out of everybody that I talked to that was really like that. But it comes to that, and then also just the consistency of winning that they have, and just the family atmosphere. It's not just Coach Swinney and Coach Streeter. It's the whole community. It's the whole coaching staff. It's every player. It's every student. It's the whole community and culture there. So.
Your mom mentioned that one time Dabo FaceTimed you from a ski lift on a slope. It's kind of unconventional approach for him. Any other sort of weird, just different sort of communications with him that was sort of him?
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I would say that was probably the funniest. Is he was just like FaceTiming me going up the ski lift, and I was like, "What?" And like one time, I like FaceTimed him one night, and he didn't answer. I was like, okay, he normally answers. That's weird. And I was driving back home, and I called him. He didn't answer. And I get home, and he'd been on FaceTime with my parents for like 45 minutes, and that's why he didn't answer my FaceTime. So just like that's the type of person he was. It's just, yeah. So there he is.
You mentioned his memory. Can you give me some examples? I mean, I know about it too, but can you give me some examples of when it struck you? Wow, this guy doesn't forget anything.
Oh man, I mean, I can't think of anything specific, but just like when he's telling stories and stuff that could be like 10 years ago, and he just remembers every single detail, or just like even by myself, and just like just so many little things that, you know, based on just how many people he talks to daily, the fact that he can remember so many little things about everybody is just so amazing. So.
Did you have any conversations with the president, Jim Clements?
I have, yeah. I've texted him many times, and he hits me up every once in a while. And I can't remember what it was. I've talked to him in person, hung out with him for a little bit twice now. But he's such an amazing person, and just I'm really excited to get to know him more. So yeah.
Your mom said you put yourself on Clemson's radar by telling Coach Dodge years ago that you were interested in them, and then he called up Coach Streeter and said you might want to look at this guy. Is that how it went down?
Yeah, I mean, I had probably had like 7 or 8 offers, and I mean, since I probably got like my first or second, my dad was probably always like, "Okay, you should ask Coach Dodge, like, if you can get in contact with Coach or with Clemson." And I'm like, "Dad, that's like kind of a reach. Like, that's a little much." And he would ask me probably like once every 2 weeks. And then I got to the point where I probably had like 7 or 8 offers or something. And I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll ask him." No, probably not. I probably had a few more. But I finally asked Coach Dodge. I was like, "Hey, Coach, I just wondered like if you still had Coach Streeter, Coach Sweeney's number. Would love to get in contact with him." And he ended up just texting me his number. And my first text was just texting Coach Streeter saying, you know, "What's up, Coach? Cade Klubnik from Austin, Texas." Kind of told him a little bit about me and just told him we'd love to get on the phone soon. And he ended up calling me that night. I talked for like 10 minutes, and then ever since then we talked at least once a week. And I would say that was last June. And, you know, ever since then we just kind of, you know, that was over a year and a half now. So, you know, at least once or twice a week. And that's kind of how it went down. So.
Wow. And so that was probably, I guess that was the summer of your Zoom call with Brad Thomas and your mom and dad where I think even Brad said you surprised him when he said, if you could have your pick, where would you go? And you said Clemson, and he's like, "Whoa, what, really?" So it was sort of out of the blue at that point. Yeah. So had Streeter, had he seen you at all like when he called you that night?
Yeah, we had never seen each other. And yeah, we hadn't until after I committed.
I mean, as far as had he seen your film, I guess is what I was saying.
I don't think so. I ended up sending him my film, and I think they ended up watching it. And, you know, I only had sophomore film at that point. And they just kind of tagged along and kept watching me throughout the season and throughout my junior season. And we just kind of kept talking. And, yeah.
Do you still have that text that you sent him to start the conversation?
Maybe. I mean, I can look, but that would be pretty.
I was just curious.
Pretty far up there. I'm not sure. I'll look one.
That's fine. Yeah. So your mother was talking about how stressful it was in February of 21 when you had quarterbacks committing to Texas and A&M and to Georgia. What was that like for you? I know it was stressful for them. So you said it was probably more stressful for them than for you. How was that for you?
Oh man, that was a very, very stressful 2 weeks, just because I knew I wanted to go to Clemson, and I had told them, you know, I wanted to go to Clemson. I told Coach Streeter and And that's where I wanted to be. And they hadn't offered me at that point yet. But I just felt like that's really where I needed to be, and just kind of had to trust in the Lord with that. And for 2 weeks, I was just really stressful, and then I just kind of got in peace about it, that wherever I ended up, I was there for a reason. So, and then it all kind of worked out, and I don't know where I would have gone if I didn't go to Clemson, because I just didn't feel like anywhere I truly belonged and where I really fit perfectly, or where I felt needed, or not needed, but just felt like where I needed to be. So,
really, you don't think you would have been comfortable anywhere else?
I mean, I just can't really see. I couldn't see myself anywhere else, to be honest.
And so, at what point, you seem to have a pretty good grasp of the timeline and of dates. Do you remember when they told you that they were that Simpson was number one for them, and that you were going to have to sort of wait to see what he did?
I mean, they had just told me, they only offer one guy at a time, and I just kept on hearing, we don't offer guys until we've seen them, and that just kind of kept happening because COVID just kept on backing it up. And I mean, I can't remember the exact timeline of it, but yeah, I mean, it was tough just knowing that I kind of had to wait, but I knew that me and Coach Sweeney had a really, really good relationship, and I knew that, yeah, so.
Your mom said the night you heard that Simpson was going to Alabama, you came out of your room and just were overcome with emotion. That just sounds like a really vivid memory. Can I get your sort of perspective? Like, was it a reporter who told you or something over the phone?
Yes, it was the night before, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember a reporter told me, and I kind of got the inside scoop on it, and I was just so happy that he told me, but I just kind of just knew trusting in the Lord was just paying off right there, because I was just, didn't know what to do, and just when I got the call, I just ran out knowing that, I was probably going to go to Clemson, and that was just it was a great feeling,
What was that? What was it like? I mean, just to know that dream sort of was probably that door was opening.
It was awesome. It was just so surreal, and just a great feeling knowing that it was, it was there, and it was an opportunity that I could get to go play at Clemson one day. So, until 2 weeks from now, it was just a really, really good feeling. So you don't know where you'd be had that not happened. I think your mom might have mentioned North Carolina, Florida, just because of your relationships with those coaches. Yeah, I would say that. Just them schools, because a couple of my 4 or 5 just in coaching changes and stuff, and my top 4 or 5 just kind of got taken back to back to back, and then I didn't really know where I wanted to go, because just A&M, I was kind of all over the place, and Texas was all over the place. Didn't really feel like a solid foundation there, and then UNC, I don't know, and then Florida, just something felt a little off, and then Clemson just felt right. So,
how did you hear the news that Tony Elliott was taking the job at Virginia?
Coach Streeter told me. Coach Streeter told me that, and then he told me that he was going to be the new OC, and I was pumped for him, for both of them, that Coach Elliott got that job, but I'm also super excited for Coach Streeter, because I think he's going to be really, really, really good at it. So,
do you have a sense of what the offense might look like under Streeter, how it might be different with his sort of personal touch on it?
I think just that he's been able to kind of sit back and see the goods and the bads over the past couple of years. That I think he's going to bring a really, really good thing, just a really good mindset and just game plan in these next couple of years, just because he's been right here. I mean, he's been at Clemson. He's not coming in new, but offense is going to stay the same, and it might change up a little bit, but just the things that he's going to be able to do, I'm really excited about.
Clemson lost its AD, offensive coordinator, and defensive coordinator over about a week's period. Did you get any pressure behind the scenes in the aftermath of that from other schools or fans or anybody around there saying, hey, is there chance you change your mind here?
Nah, not once. I trust in Coach Sweeney, and I have since the very beginning. So,
what do you think is realistic for you in your first year at Clemson?
Like what?
I'm sorry, just as a player, as far as performance.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm ready to get to work. I'm not going to ease in this thing. I'm ready to get to work and just ready to listen to Coach Shree and Coach Sweeney and whatever they got for me, and ready to get after it. So,
Dabo has compared you to Deshaun Watson at the same stage. Says you're quicker. What's your reaction when you hear that?
I mean, that's a pretty big compliment right there. Deshaun is probably one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Just watching him, and my dad grew up in Houston, so we would go see him at the Texans for the last couple of years, and just loved watching him play. Just so special, and that's definitely a huge compliment. And I actually got to go through with him this past summer, a couple months ago, and just such a great guy, just an amazing athlete and such a great guy, and was a really good role model for me. So.
Deshaun was around 178, I think, when he got here as a freshman mid-year. He left, I think, somewhere around 215. Is that sort of the same progression you envision for yourself over your career?
Yeah, I would see that. I think that would be awesome. Just to, the size that he's at is perfect. So just to keep his athleticism at the same time is really good. So,
do you already have a copy of the playbook at all, or is that just something that I guess
not yet. Soon though. I'm gonna start studying it soon. I actually probably sometime this week. He sent me the formations and stuff, but that's it.
Gotcha.
Just to get those down first. So,
how often do you engage with the current players like Shipley, DJ, Bo Collins, guys like that?
I would say about once a month, or not once a month, about once a week with just somebody, and just kind of keeping in contact with some of those guys, and like Will Taylor and Will Shipley and Bo, those guys right there, and Kobe, and so yeah, I built a few good relationships with those guys. I think that'll just grow once I get there. So,
as I've learned more about Westlake, the football program of the last few weeks, and what y'all were all about under Coach Dodge, the culture just seems so similar to Clemson's, in that you hear that it's built on love, trust, relationships, things like that. Do you see like a really striking sort of similarity as well?
Yeah, you can't put a high school and a college more similar. Just in everything, like what you just said, the love and the trust in each other, but also like just the head coaches Coach Sweeney and Coach Dodge, a little bit of an age difference, but also just such amazing, great role models and men, but also just really, really good football coaches. And then, you put in, and then you bring in the expectations, and expectations are a good thing, but, some people see them as a bad thing, where you have a lot of expectations and you get pressure, but expectations are a good thing because they push you to where people can expect you to be. And, expectation is people were mad about Clemson this year, and, they're going to go win this bowl game and have a 10-win season. And if I was a Clemson fan, like, you're complaining about a 10-win season, most fans would go crazy about that, but like, that's just kind of the expectation that it is at Clemson. It is at Westlake too. If we're not playing a state championship game, there's nothing really special about that year. It's just kind of a meh year. But, and that's the same for Clemson. If you're not playing in the playoffs or a national championship, it's not the best that they could be. So, I love that. It's just, it's the expectations there, and I'm excited about it.
Where does the athleticism come from in your family?
Obviously both my parents, but my grandpa ran track at UCLA from my dad's side, but my mom also ran track in high school, so kind of both of those. But my whole family, we're all athletes. My oldest brother played rugby, and my sister ran track and cross country, and then my other brother played football at Yale. So we all love sports and are always doing something. So
where does your
competitive?
Yeah, where does your positivity come from?
I would say my family, and just my faith, and just that knowing that there's much more to life than football, and that I'm playing it for a reason. It's to go share God's word to others, and that's really it. And just being able to have the platform that I've been able to have is, I just remember after the third state championship, and it's like, we had Bible study on the Tuesday before, and it's like, this is not going to be the biggest day of our life. Mm-hmm. There's so much more. There's so much more to life than this. It's just another high school football game, and just go and enjoy it, but it's not fulfilling. And so, yeah.
Do you know that's exactly what Dabo told his team after the 16 championship in the locker room? This is going to be the biggest day of your life?
Huh.
Or make it not the biggest day of your life.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
Where do you get your confidence from?
I would just say my family, just kind of growing up not only child, but youngest child with all three older siblings, kind of had to just be older and just like, they're all 7, 8, 9, 10 years older than me, or 6, 7, 9 years older than me. So just kind of I've always just kind of been with older people my whole life, and just kind of, I feel like just being able to talk to older people and people, two of my best friends are 23. So like, just my confidence and just like entering a room is just, I'm okay with kind of the scenario that I'm in, but just kind of being like, when it comes to confidence in a game, it's just, I wouldn't say just like cockiness or confidence, but more just like a peace and having fun about it. Because when in football, I think my confidence comes from just having fun and just, I've dreamed my whole life of playing a state championship. Why stress about it? Why have any stress or be worried about it? Just go have so much fun. And I think that's what the second half of last week was. I had to come down to, is just go have fun. I think that's just kind of where my confidence comes from.
Obviously,
kind of a rambled answer.
Yeah, no, it's great. The North Shore performance during your junior year, you hurt your AC joint.
Yeah.
Was that during the game?
It was the first drive, yes, sir.
And so I've read that you could barely throw the ball 5 yards.
Yeah. I couldn't throw it. I couldn't throw it in practice the whole week of state that week. Yeah.
And so how did you overcome that against North Shore and then in the state a week later?
Yeah. I would just say like just grit and just not quitting on my team, because we've been through so much, and just not quitting on them. Just I don't really know. I just kind of trusting in my team and that they would be able to get us throughout the whole game, and just trusting our coaching staff and our training staff to get my shoulder back to where the best it could be by the next Saturday in the state championship. Just what I wasn't going to quit at that point. I was going to finish the job. I wasn't going to leave that. We've come so close. I wasn't going to just leave on my team like that. So,
can you describe the pain?
It was very painful. Hurt to move my shoulder up and across and down, but end up just shotting it up at halftime with just a numbing shot, just to kind of take some of the pain away, and then just kind of tough it out for the rest of the game. But
how sore were you, I guess, for the weeks or months afterward?
Oh, definitely very sore. It definitely took a couple months to get back to where not a couple months, probably a month or two to get back to 100%, because it was my throwing shoulder, and my throwing shoulder has a lot of just built up strength throughout the years. So I had to get all of that back somehow after not doing anything for a couple of weeks and just letting it heal. So, it definitely took a little bit. My left shoulder is a little bit different. It's not my throwing shoulder, so the rehab has been a lot quicker and not as severe, although it's a little bit worse. But yeah.
Same injury though?
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, wow. AC joint. Was that classified as a sprain, a tear, or?
Just a sprain.
Gotcha. When you heard that Quinn Ewers was reclassifying and going to Ohio State, what was your reaction?
I was very surprised. But I think he just kind of felt like that's what he needed to do at that point. And yeah, not really anything else.
Is it fair for somebody like me on the outside to say that while guys like Quinn sort of represent the idea of viewing college like a business and maximizing their brand NIL potential, that Cade Klubnik represents the sort of opposite, like personal, spiritual growth as a man, being part of a culture, being more interested in the team. Is that, I mean, Coach Dodge said last week that is what sets you apart. Is that fair to make that comparison, that contrast?
I mean, I would say that for me, like, it's not about me. It's about the others and the other teammates, and I don't ever want the hype to be about me or, me alone or Cade Klubnik, but more the Westlake Chaparrals or the Clemson Tigers or the group that I'm in. And just, I mean, as a quarterback, you're nothing without a good team or a good O-line or a good defense or a good receiver. So, that's kind of my mindset on it.
Most 17, 18-year-olds don't have to deal with the loss that you and the whole football program have had to deal with over the last year. Jackson Coker and Jake Ellinger. What how hard was that to go through? And I'm assuming that the team sort of that came up a lot during the season and off season and all that.
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. Just it brought so many people so tight together, and just the people that knew them, it brought everybody so close together, and the people that didn't know them just brought everybody else even closer. And I think that's just what made our team this year, is we were playing for them, and like I said, it just made everybody just realize how short life is, and just made everybody so tight, and just the love for each other grew even more, and just the tightest football team that I've ever played on because of that. So
I think I read that you have had on your mirror in your room, "Be like Jackson."
Yeah, I live like Jackson.
Live like Jackson. Can you tell me about him? And I mean, obviously you were really close with him.
Yeah. I mean, such an amazing person, and just somebody who just constantly lived for others, and just did not, just the most was just the most selfless person I've ever met. Just always wanting to give to others, and just treated everybody equally. And I mean, everybody, whether it was the head coach at a football school, or a custodian, or a random kid that never plays. I mean, just treated everybody like it was his best friend, and like that's just how our whole team became since then. It's just we all knew who Jackson was, and we just all wanted to live like that and didn't want to spend another day not like that. And that's just what made this group of guys so special. Like, this team was so good on the field. Like, it was the best team I ever played on, but like, it was the best team off the field too. Just the amount of love that was for each other, and the group of guys that we had that I get to be surrounded by daily was just so special.
You plan to write the same thing on your mirror here at Clemson when you get here?
I bet I will. I will. Or get a little frame or something. But, yeah.
Do you know who you're rooming with?
Yes, sir. I'm rooming with Adam Randall.
Gotcha. Well, Cade, I think that's all I have, man. I cannot thank you enough, and I'm really looking forward to watching you play here with a Tiger Paw on your helmet.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, hope you all enjoyed that. Those interviews from back in December. Actually, just last night at a Daniel High School basketball game, Cade Klubnik was there, and man, he was into it, fired up, rooting on his former teammates who are seniors for Daniel. It seems like he is right at home quickly after this big move, and right in line as just a natural-born leader and somebody who's going to really be an asset for Clemson moving forward. Okay, now we're back here, December 23rd, 2022. And wow, that was really interesting. Just going back and getting a listen to what was said back then. I think the reasons for excitement back then are probably the same reasons for excitement right now as Clemson heads to the Orange Bowl and tries to duplicate what it did in Charlotte against North Carolina. Appreciate the support of our sponsors for helping make this happen. And, of course, thanks to every one of you for hitting that play button. Appreciate it, and Merry Christmas, everybody. Cheers.